But, to think that, this is why I think it's just the success story. This is why I think it is the success story that it is. It's because
silly, you know that?
Well, sometimes I get hung up on words.
That's okay.
So, I just think that you really have to have a professional in this industry, because if I didn't know about that and, someone else took this on, some of the concerns from buyers on the outside were saying, we already had a salamander test, like where we had someone come out and test to see if they were out there, and we had a certificate saying there weren't, and all kinds of things. But if you don't know, if you aren't working with someone that's really an expert to that area, there's no shame in referring it to someone that is. So that way, you don't have the heartache. So this property sat on the market, had all these what would be challenges. And when the seller brought this to me, I said, you know what, let's do it. We can do this. I had a whole different marketing perspective than what had happened previously. And within 7 days of being on the market and one open house that yielded over 55 groups through, over 55, that's over 100 people that came through one open house. We were in contract, all cash, well above asking. And closed that within a couple weeks, which was just,
in last year's market?
In last year's, and that's the thing is that, despite what the media really is, unfortunately, there's a lot of fake news out there, right?
A lot of it's mindset, though. You got to go in with that winning mindset. No seller wants to hear, well, we'll give it a shot.
Right. It's you either can do it or you can't.
Yeah.
I don't think we haven't taken a listing where we've gone into it and said, let's just see if we can. If we go in it and we just say they're not unrealistic or we can't do this, then we just say we can't do it.
Yeah,
and we actually
be fair to the people. You can't jerk their chains to get a listing or whatever. You got to be totally transparent and give them the good stats.
Right. Yeah. So that and that I think is my that's personal big win from last year.
Yeah, that's
which
cool.
We got to work with amazing people and lots of great stories and lots of first time buyers and we worked with primarily sellers last year, but had a handful of buyers. That it's always heartwarming to work with a first time home buyer.
I thought you would have said on that one though that the highlight of that listing was when you got to put on the cow costume and get out and slide through the mud for your listing video.
That also was a highlight. Yes. It's funny, I like shout out to my videographer who goes with my ridiculous ideas. But I'm like, I have a slip and slide, and could I like put water on that and run down on a cow? He's like, I don't know, let's try it. So but no, I just think that was huge because I think it's also scary when you take over a listing that was previously on the market. Right. Like what makes what you're doing gonna, sure. You've got to have, different perspective. You've really got to think outside the box. And so I think that this last year it yielded a lot of that. We really were trying to get creative and thinking, how can we get sellers to be successful in a market that is in decline, as the media was saying, right? But yet proof is in the pudding. We had the best year yet. And I think it's because of that perspective.
And a lot of new things that were implemented this last year with the videos, the presentations, and just the focus was laser. And I think we've learned a lot from last year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In the vein of like, big wins for last year.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of them, but in terms of like the properties and the people we work with, for me personally, last year was like, okay, you wear the CEO hat, but there's also the management responsibilities. But hey, wait a second, we're rebuilding here, and so you got to get in the trenches. So that was exciting for me to just
you handled quite a few clients this last year.
Yeah, and I love that because I love people. Mm-hmm. And I like interacting with them. So one of the things that we all did was we did some open houses, and they're a great way to meet folks and just have some fun. And we always made them fun and just, did what we needed to do. But I remember one open house and I was there. We weren't getting a lot of traffic, but a woman came in and we struck up a conversation, and I really liked her. She just had a real sweet attitude and very appreciative and that sort of thing. And in qualifying her, obviously, hey, do you have an agent? Because she really liked this house, right? Do you have an agent? Well, she said, my brother, but he's not really doing anything for me.
Oh, that's it. That's a slippery slope.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
But you know what? As a family business, we know sometimes working with family can be challenging.
oh, it can be, for sure. But I mean, we don't go poaching people's clients or anything like that.
Right.
So, but I found out that the brother was out of area, and she probably didn't have a buyer broker agreement with him and whatever. So I just said, hey, look, I'll tell you what, you're a really sweet person. I'd love to be able to help you out. If you want your brother to represent you, you can always have him refer you to me, and we'll share in the professional fees.
Yeah, you'll be boots on the ground.
I just put that out there,
Yeah.
and that was it. Well, she called me the very next day and said, she didn't say she was going to ditch her brother, but she did say, look, I want to work with you. Would you please show me these couple of homes? And we did. In fact, I think I showed her 2 homes the next day, and she wanted one of them. We went into contract, and she closed, and it was so smooth, and it was the perfect house for her. And she's just so appreciative, so sweet, comes to our events, and we stay in touch. And you know, it's that type of thing. Yeah. Where you just feel like, you know what, you really help somebody. This was her first home, by the way, and she's a grown adult who's been in, you know, a good career for a number of years, but this was a big, big step for her. So seeing her in that situation where she's owning her house, she's independent, and whatever. By the way, here's a funny little thing too. When we were closing, we actually had signed and we're closing. The brother did drive out from Timbuktu and pulled up in front of the house and told her, oh, these guys that are selling this house, apparently he knew them or something from their sign. They're crooks or whatever. And they're like, okay, you know, but we're in contract. We're closing tomorrow.
Nothing we can do about this now. Your opinion, yeah.